how do you actually answer, "How are you?" without sounding like a robot or awkwardly oversharing? Take a coworker casually asking you in the break room, right after you've barely survived a chaotic, delayed morning commute. Here's the secret. They aren't requesting a comprehensive audit of your entire life. They are simply scanning for your immediate baseline state. The social panic happens because we incorrectly assume there's only one correct, polite response we have to deliver. But the actual rule is much simpler. Your correct answer depends entirely on how you genuinely feel. So instead of unloading the complex backstory of your delayed train and spilled coffee, you run that chaos through the filter, distilling it down into a single color-coded emotional tag. Once you isolate that core feeling, you keep the final output short and match that specific state. So when you are finally standing there face-to-face with that coworker in the break room, you just confidently say, "A bit tired today." The expectation is met, and the social exchange is perfectly complete.
Next time someone asks, "How are you?" stop automatically saying, "I'm fine," because your answer isn't just small talk, it's how you set the boundaries for the entire conversation. Here's how to match your response to your actual mood. First up, genuine excitement. When you say, "I'm feeling fantastic," or "I can't wait," you tell the listener that life is exceptionally good and you are ready to engage. Next, setting energy expectations. There is a huge difference between being a little tired and completely exhausted. Saying "I'm exhausted" or "I'm not feeling well" clearly warns them that you have low energy today. But if you are dealing with emotional distress, you don't have to overshare. Phrases like "I'm feeling down" or "I have a lot on my mind" gently alert the listener, serving as a cue that you are having a hard time without forcing details. And finally, the polite shutdown. When you simply don't want to talk, short answers like "I'm fine" or "I'm all right" become your best strategic tools. That brevity acts as a polite signal to close the topic and move on. Choosing the right response is your first chance to control the social dynamic, setting the exact tone for whatever comes next. In everyday English, answering "How are you?" doesn't have just one right answer. It depends entirely on your specific social environment. First up, the workplace. When a coworker stops to ask "How are you?", they aren't actually looking for a literal status report on your day. Instead, the expectation in these spaces is pure positivity. Offering a quick, "Pretty good," keeps the interaction polite and frictionless. Next, casual community settings, like catching up in a welcoming church foyer. In these relational spaces, a standard "I'm fine" isn't quite enough. You pair it with a warm, conversational closer, like "It's good to see you." Finally, recovering from an illness. This completely changes the context. By simply adding the word "now," the conversational roles shift. Asking "How are you now?" pivots the interaction entirely, turning it into a genuine request for a physical update. So you drop the script and give a literal answer, like "much better." Everyday greetings aren't actually about sharing your true mood. They're predictable social scripts, perfectly designed to fit the room you're in.
In English, the question, "How are you?" is absolutely everywhere, but it feels awkward when a total stranger asks it and clearly doesn't want to hear your life story. Imagine a simple, everyday interaction, like walking up to a shopkeeper at the local market. Literally translated, they're asking for a direct report on your current physical or emotional state. But if you actually stop to explain that you're worried or angry, the interaction stalls out and gets awkward. That's because the phrase has a hidden secondary path. In everyday settings like work, school, or the market, this phrase bypasses the literal meaning entirely. It functions purely as a polite, friendly tool to simply open the conversation. But change the context. If a close friend asks after you've been sick, the router deliberately switches back to the literal emotion path because genuine care is present. So when you return to that friendly shopkeeper at the local market, they aren't secretly testing your mood. They're just using a polite tool to open the conversation.
Answering "How are you?" is the most common interaction in spoken English, But beginners always get trapped using the same unnatural, robotic textbook phrases. If you want to sound natural, you need to stop making these 3 basic mistakes. First up, the rushed greeting. Native speakers do not say, "I'm fine and you." Cramming it all into one breath sounds robotic. Instead, separate your status from the return question. Next, mixing up your adjective endings. If you say, "I'm very exciting," you are calling yourself a thrilling person. Words ending in ing describe the external thing causing the feeling, like an exciting football match. Words ending in ed describe your internal feeling. When you get a new job, you are excited. And finally, forcing made-up adverbs like goodly or defaulting to "I'm fine" even when you feel terrible. Natural English relies on matching your response to your actual honest mood. If you didn't sleep, say, "I'm a little tired today." If things are great, say, "I'm doing well." Sounding fluent isn't about using complicated words. It's about breaking free from rigid scripts and simply matching your language to reality. Ever have an English conversation just abruptly stop, leaving you in an uncomfortable, dead-end silence? Take a common interaction. Someone asks, "How are you?" And you reply, "I'm good." If you stop right there, the conversation terminates. You've hit a brick wall. It's even more awkward if your answer isn't a standard "good." If you say, "I'm tired," and just stop, the original speaker is trapped. Natural speakers fix this with the second step rule. They never accept the first answer as the end. Instead, they deploy a bridge to pass the momentum back. The simplest bridge? Bounce the exact question back. "I'm good, thanks. How are you?" For unexpected answers, bridge with a reaction. If they're tired, show empathy. "I'm sorry to hear that." If they feel great, deploy curiosity. "That's nice. Why?" You force them to elaborate. By always adding that one simple follow-up, that basic greeting instantly transforms from a dead end into a continuous, natural exchange that keeps the momentum alive.